Welcome back, and look at shares of Nvidia up another 3% today. That probably puts them around 20% year-to-date gain territory after their big announcement this week that they are lining up $500 billion in funding commitments to help drive the adoption of compute as an asset class. Does our next guest think this is a good idea? Let's bring in Bob Greifeld, the former NASDAQ CEO, who is the co-founder of Cornerstone Financial Tech Management and a CNBC contributor. Bob, it's great to see you again. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have a few. So one, when you think about it, the stock should go up because in a certain way, they've lessened their risk, right? So they started with a situation where they're providing product to the customer's paying for it. Then they're in the business of vendor financing. They have widened the circle where there's more people involved with this financing. And what I like about it is the third parties involved probably will do a market rate setting in terms of what this this asset should price at. Should it be 11% interest rate, 12, or, things like that. There are things about it I don't like, but certainly I think from the company's point of view, it's a good thing.
What are the things you don't like about it?
So one, there's more people in the circle and there's points of leverage in every part of the circle. So we don't really know how much leverage is in the system as we go through that. But I also think when we see the risk, I haven't heard people talking about this. We think about LLMs and they're a phenomenal advance, right, for society. But when they came out with the LLMs, it's obvious they were trying to be effective first and not efficient. So I would think that the compute power required to do a given task in an LLM is going to go down 100-fold. And what always stays with me, when I was in grad school taking computer programming class, the professor had us write a program, and we first wrote it, and it really took a supercomputer to run it. And he said, your job, if you want to get an A, you have to make this program run on a TRS-80, a Trash 80, the Radio Shack computer back in the day. And we weren't that talented, but most of us got the ability to take it from a supercomputer use of resources down to a microcomputer. So I think LLMs over the next decade might have a 100-fold decrease in the amount of compute power they require to get a task. That's hard to put in a model when you're lending on equipment over that period of time.
And speaking of the equipment, and some have raised concerns about how valuable can it continue to be. Here's what the CEO of CoreWeave said about that very question on our air earlier.
One of the debates that has followed this industry has been on older generations of GPUs. And what we have, I hope, put to bed here is that those older generations of GPUs are going to have a longer useful life than anyone anticipated. They are going to contract for a longer term, and they are going to contract at a higher price. And we already are seeing that flow through our platform.
And that's something, Bob, that Srini Pajuri of RBC told us yesterday, that these A100s NVIDIA introduced in 2020 are still being used today. So does that help to allay some of those concerns you talked about?
It does. I'm in violent agreement with that. I believe the useful life of these computers will be longer than people were talking about, just a couple months ago. But the two other factors I want to highlight, one is obviously the cost of doing that, running that software will go down dramatically over the next decade. I'm making a prediction, a 100-fold decrease. The second thing is LLMs today are strictly about the data center. But each of us have one of these phones in our hand. There's 7.6 billion of them out there. That has a lot of compute power. So over the next decade, you're going to see edge computing be a real play in the AI race. So certainly in the next number of years, we'll see phones come out that are AI native that can do a lot of the LLMs or SLMs, or whatever you want to call it at that point in time, on the device itself. So when I think about lending to data center based, right, today it's only game in town. So you have two fundamental drivers over the next decade. The software gets more efficient, reducing dramatically the use of hardware per given operation. And second, the devices in your hand will become an effective compute. There's a lot of computing power in these devices today, and that's going to be nothing but increase in the time to come.
I think that, we started hearing about this yesterday afternoon, and you saw the big, large executives, and so investors are probably asking, what did they do exactly? Well, in my opinion, what they did was Jensen Huang was able to take some of the risk of financing these AI centers, which frankly are going to use NVIDIA chips, and spread out some of the risk among 6 very large brokerage houses. Now, here's the names: Apollo Global Management, BlackRock, Blackstone, Brookfield Asset Management, Goldman Sachs, and KKR. And so it's up to $500 billion. Nvidia can still take as much as $125 billion, or 25%. But all this means is they are creating pools of capital, understanding that they need massive amounts of money, and they started bringing in more investors. And now these clearinghouses are going to go out and raise money to finance all these all the data centers. So I think this is a really good thing for overall AI, and it's very good for Jensen Huang, because all these places, Jensen Huang's getting involved in the nuts and bolts of building the data centers that are going to use AI NVIDIA chips. So I think yesterday was a real good day for NVIDIA. Their earnings are coming up, remember, at the end of the month, but there's kind of a muted response here. But yeah, this is really good news for NVIDIA, and good news for, you know, the AI sector, Nicole.
Look, of course, getting the financing they need to continue to grow. Also, the fact that the company is launching the Nemotron 4, and that's in the open source. And so with that, that's another area where they can get more demand and drive more business to GPUs and help drive their whole next wave of demand. And Morgan Stanley noted that this deal that we're talking about at this moment of the 6 institutional investors is much more of a positive than a negative.
Sure. I agree with that completely, because all this means is, remember, we were so worried about CapEx spending. We're so worried about these firms raising capital to be involved in AI and build out these data centers. This brings a boatload of capital for them to use and access. So yeah, I think it's all it did was really solidify up AI and let the street know, let the trading community know that there's plenty of money ready to be invested by these firms in AI and in data centers.
Yeah, Wells Fargo said they're playing a much bigger game. Morgan Stanley talked about being positive and reiterated it as a top pick, and Bank of America just much of the same. I know you have a trade for us when it comes to NVIDIA, and we were just talking about the valuation, and a lot of folks think it's much more attractive than it's been in a long time. So let's talk about your example trade, please, Kevin.
So they have earnings coming up at the end of the month, and it's August 26th, during the August 28th cycle. And so what I wanted to do is look at the expected move out till August 28th, and right now it's looking at about $17. Stock trading about somewhere between $218 and $220. I got it closer to $218.50 right now, only up less than $1. So the trade that I looked at here was something in the unbalanced butterfly, measuring that expected move, $15 to $17. I bought the August 28th. This is in the earnings event, the 220 call. I sold the two of the 235 calls, and then I bought one of the 240 calls. So an unbalanced call butterfly, which is buying the 220 strike, selling 2 of the 235s in line with that expected move, and then buying the 240. If it goes to 235, you have a chance to basically triple your money on there. If it goes past there, which can often happen in a regular butterfly, you could lose all your profits. This one holds on to profits because you're long a $15 call vertical, short a $5 call vertical. So even if NVIDIA were to run to $250, you stay profitable on this trade. Now, it is a bullish trade, so the risk you have, I put that trade in about $4.50. It's trading about $4.10 now, so it's trading even cheaper, as the stock was right around $220. Now it's around $218.5, so it's lost a little bit. So you can get in it right now for something right around $4.10, $4.15. That would be the risk. Whatever debit paid is the risk on this trade. And like I said, you're looking for a move towards that 235 strike, which, by the way, is about $1 lower than the all-time high, Nicole.
All right, even better.
Sometimes downtown Manhattan turns into an American Pamplona. And when it does, you better run with the bulls or get the heck out of the way. Today was one of those days where if you bet against the data center cattle, you got trampled. There's a reason the NASDAQ was up 0.54% while the Dow dropped 22 points and the S&P edged up just 0.26%. How did Wall Street turn into estafada? Pretty simple. For weeks now, the semiconductors and their bettors in the data center have been trying to mount in advance. But things just keep getting in the way. We thought that the stampede looked likely until the fourth week of July. And that's when a fund called situational awareness amassed a huge amount of leverage and had a repository of all things data center blow up, spewing data center stocks more efficiently than Reagan spewed vomit in The Exorcist. Leopold Aschenbrenner, the boy wonder who ran that fund, had borrowed so much money to build his $45 billion portfolio that even a small dip in his stocks, just that's all it took, trashed his fund. The margin butchers took their pound of flesh. Don't worry about Aschenbrenner. Yeah, I've seen these types. Valedictorian kind of stuff. They usually go a couple weeks and then they get the money again because millionaires, moths to flame. His stocks, though, different story. They got crushed, even as a business for almost all of them was terrific. That really threw me off. Real irony here before I get to the real nitty-gritty. On July 24th, right when he was teetering, he sent out a letter urging his investors to send in more money because, quote, at times we call out opportunities that seem like a particularly good time to add funds if you have been waiting for one, end quote. He was right, except he created the opportunity with his own personal crash. He just didn't get to participate in it. The demise of situational awareness stopped the nascent data center rally in its tracks. Now, I was personally sickened by it. That Friday morning of this fund's doom, I was telling club members to buy the stock of Intel after an amazing quarter. It was almost immediately mauled by the situational awareness bear. The stock tipped up to 110. That made sense to me, up about $4. But next thing you know, it was 109, 108, 107, 106, 105, 104, falling 16 points from 110 before an anemic bounce. I was situationally unaware. The takedown for Intel and so many other semis seemed to last forever, and we thought there was something really wrong. Nvidia stock traded from 212 at the time of detonation to 190. Data center builder CoreWeave went from 83 to 60. Its doppelganger Nebius went from 219 to 148. Optical provider Lumentum fell from 833 to 602. Data infrastructure specialist Supermicro dropped from 30 to 25. If you were like me, you felt like drinking some cheap scotch while you lay on a dirty linoleum floor. Now that the group's tried to find a base, but it's been touch and go ever since situational awareness got its clock cleaned, we never knew what was going to happen next. But on Monday, a day when I was busy trying to land a 100-pound tarpon, that's Philadelphia talk for tarpon, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang was busy landing an entire raft of Wall Street biggies to launch a brilliant idea, securitization of basically compute. The sum total of the value that comes out of the data center every minute of the day. The consortium is putting $500 billion behind it. Big money. You can trade compute like a bond, just like a mortgage bond or a bond backed by auto loans, packaged and securitized just like those. For many skeptics, this was a bridge too far, a kooky idea that made no sense, because don't the chips that NVIDIA make last like 3 years, right? I mean, then they lose all their value, don't they? I mean, isn't NVIDIA just enriching itself, circular reasoning, like Lazy Susan? All sorts of poppycock. At the same time, Intel, worried about its balance sheet, had to come to the market with 15 million shares, raise some money. The deal would be priced at 95, a huge decline from its recovery, run back to $100 that were, well, it was closer to where the situational implosion was. If that weren't enough, interest rates shot up to a 19-year high because oil climbed back over 90 as Iran and Trump were once again at loggerheads. Now, that was the scenario when the bulls were snorting, getting ready to stampede. Oh, we had a clue that something big was about to break up. We got so much demand for Intel that they upsized the deal to 20 million shares and it's still sold out, moving up $2 Tuesday morning, almost from the get-go. We started to get some more positive feedback about the GPU securitization. Risk takers thinking, might be worth a flyer. If only because almost everyone important seemed on board. This morning, the rockets went off, and the fabled six fighting bulls, Supermicro, Nvidia, Intel, Nebius, Lumentum, and CoreWeave, tore out of their pens and proceeded to trample the non-believers who didn't realize you're taking your life in your hands when you bet against these companies. It actually started last night when Supermicro reported, not one of my faves, but it's a key data infrastructure player, and it charged out and gored anyone in its path with a sharply better than expected guide, and there's a lot of people in its path because it's heavily shorted. Then today, aided by a benign consumer price index number, the data center stocks couldn't be contained. Lumentum, which makes fiber optics, told a terrific tale. We got Coherent on tonight. See if it matches the company's performance. Competitor. Intel surging through a $100 barrier, landing at $100.95. Cloud platform Nvidia soared $66 to $259. And finally, CoreWeave reported a monster quarter, demonstrating their strategy of building data centers and betting Nvidia's chips would have a longer shelf life than 3 to 5 years was more than paying off. CoreWeave CEO Michael Intrater told us an insanely good story when he appeared on Squawk on the Street. He gave us genuine proof that older NVIDIA GPUs are as valuable or even more valuable than when they were built, even ones that came out of the foundry 9 years ago. Yes, of course they are. We got a chip shortage. NVIDIA's chips are the most sought after of all semiconductors, and they hold their value. Anyone who was worried about compute-backed bonds being dragged down by depreciation now looks like a dope. These chips aren't like cars that lose half their value the moment they drive off a lot. They're more like fine jewelry. Plus, people keep forgetting that NVIDIA also has a software company with its CUDA product and the massive developer ecosystem that can be upgraded through all cycles, allowing 9-year-old chips to keep their value or even appreciate. Auto loans can't make that claim, can they? In the end, CoreWeave finished up $17. NVIDIA rallied $7. Remember, that's the world's largest company. Many of these bulls are now knocking on the door of where they were before situation.
With us. For at least today, it looked great for the momentum trade, but I'm wondering how long you think this lasts. It feels almost like just a churning of different sectors in the markets from day to day.
So I think that tech overall can do very well. You know, one of the things that we saw when the market was and the S&P 500 was consolidating was there was this big negative correlation between the hyperscalers and the AI infrastructure names. And, you know, the more CapEx that was expected, the market took it as a negative for hyperscalers and positive for everything else. I think now there's been an inflection where they can really work together. And it has started, and we think it's going to continue because there's been this inflection in the view around ROI on this CapEx. You're seeing it from the GPU rental prices are going higher. Cloud growth is, accelerating. You saw that both from Amazon and Microsoft beating. Margins are expanding, and the CapEx is being explained around how long it's going to last and when there'll be an inflection around cash flows. And so I do think that they can now start to work together, even though a day like today, they went in opposite directions broadly over the last 3 weeks. There has been a material change.
Yeah, I guess, Eric, I see some work about, how these momentum reversals have tended to go historically. When they've get into these crazy extremes, then you get the severe pullback as we've had. Recovery right now, it's not necessarily all that common to have a perfect V bottom back to the highs, because what we now know in retrospect is those highs were set with a lot of leverage and crowding that maybe is not going to be rebuilt in a hurry.
Yeah, so we've done a fair amount of back testing around how this, has played out historically, and you typically get at minimum a stabilization. And which means that there are times that you simply just go sideways for a month or two. But in most cases, you get a bounce. Now, the magnitude, you bring up a great point that if you look at, are we going to go back to the highs? I don't think the highs are a great data point to point to, because there were other things that were involved, as you pointed out, around leverage that are unlikely to repeat themselves. However, if you look at the fundamentals of the long side of the momentum trade, they're extremely strong, and they are, to some degree, accelerating. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, in this case, our work shows that not only from a quantitative back test, but actually looking at the current fundamentals, that in this case, it will be more than just a stabilization, and they can start to actually work higher, which they've done over the past, 5 to 10 days.
Right.